welcome back to the channel, Relocate with Kaia. I am Kaia. I provide online support via coaching and consulting with individuals, employees, and families that are moving abroad. I provide them with relocation, country-specific resources, and on our channel, Rich and I discuss our own personal journey of moving from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to South Africa with our beautiful daughter, Nina. And today, we essentially are just catching up because, as you know, we were down for the count last week. So we're just going to play a little catch up, give our 2 cents on the recent events. And Rich, I think I'm going to let you start.
Oh, well, yeah, no, as Kai mentioned, it was great to finally get out of the house. We were all sick at various stages of, illness and recovery. Which, typically it starts with the little one and then gets to me, and then occasionally Kyle will get sick. But this time she led the parade, which was a nice change of pace. But yeah, no, we did get out last weekend and it was good. We finally did get on a family hike.
Yes.
With Nina. It's more of a walk, wasn't so much of a hike.
Yes, I think hike is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, it was a little 5K.
Yeah.
But it was good to be out. Particularly in the winter. I think we were discussing when we were walking around. Yeah. Of like, this is a cooler weather activity. Yes. You wouldn't want to be out here, midday in the summer because it would be just way too hot. Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely nice to be outside. And,
I feel like outdoor activities in South Africa, I feel like the fall is a great time, and I would probably assume the spring also. The weather was so nice. Because it's not too hot. It's nice and cool. So I definitely think for at least the next few weeks, we're going to try to take in some outdoor activities because the weather permits it.
Yeah, no, it's like this week's been a little cold. Like everyone was absolutely losing their mind so far this week. I mean, and granted, it's like in the 30s or 0 for the Celsius folk out there, which... it's been a while since we've experienced that. Like, it sort of reminds me of home. I mean, because there are days in the winter where this would, like 0 or, 32 degrees would be the absolute warmest it would get during the day.
Winter.
It's just sort of that perspective of seeing folks like, about to freeze on the sidewalk because it's so cold here.
Yes.
Like, well, it's a little chilly, but it's not that bad.
No. Well, Rich shares his sentiment all on his own because it is definitely cold to me. I just wasn't, we were here last August.
It was already starting to warm up.
Right, that is true. Like it wasn't too bad, but I feel like we're definitely, heading towards the thick of it. So we missed this last year, but no, it's definitely chilly. It is chilly, but it's nice, but it's also a bit confusing because when the weather gets cooler, it's heading to, it's Thanksgiving and it's Christmas. So it's hard to wrap my mind around not getting ready for some big holiday. Yes. Yeah. But no, it's nice like during the day. Like my, one of our friends that, from the States that lived here, she was like, oh no. She's like, you're fine during the day, but it definitely gets chilly at night. So being outdoors the next, month or so, I think is going to be really nice. And, what else? Then we went to one of Nina's friends' birthday party, which was really nice. And we've been to Spurs a couple times, but this one was one that wasn't attached to a mall.
It was a freestanding independent Spur.
Yes, it was. And it was so nice. Like they had an outdoor area and and we were just hanging. And before you know it, it was nighttime. Like it was an afternoon party. And by the time, everything wind down, because people could have stayed longer, but by the time it wind down, it was like 3 hours later. And it didn't feel that way. And it's just like, I don't recall going to a kid's birthday party at an actual location. Like somebody's house, it definitely could go hours upon hours. It usually doesn't. But it can because you're at somebody's house. But to be at an actual business that's not kicking you out after 3 hours, it's nice. It is nice, and at some point I'll get used to it. But for now, it's just like, look at us, just sitting here all day, taking up this entire section, and nobody's saying y'all got to get out. So yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, no, they don't say that here.
They don't.
No.
They don't.
It's not something they'll do.
No, you're too civilized, South Africa.
Yeah. No, it was nice because the kids, obviously the bigger one they can do is run around and do whatever, in the play area.
Yeah.
It was nice to see the restaurant that wasn't shoehorned in to the space the mall had.
Right.
It was it's just more things to do, open space, so that was cool.
Yeah, no, that was great. Nina, definitely had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just like the day before, our sweet little nugget, she had to have a tooth pulled. That was not expected. And she actually had a party to go to during the day, but she wasn't able to make it because she wasn't feeling well. But by the time the afternoon came, she was feeling much better, so we were able to go to the this other party. But yeah, she was a trooper. She was sick, and then on Friday she had the cold, and then on Friday she had to have her teeth pulled, and she was actually pretty incredible about that. I mean, she had to get a needle, and so she got a little certificate saying that she had her teeth pulled. So that was really an experience.
Yeah, well, it's interesting hearing you talk about that experience because she wouldn't go in the room.
I sure did.
She didn't want to see any parts of it.
I did not. I said, well, I'll let her.
Let's see how much detail you're going to get into as far as.
Yeah, but you know what? It's all right. I can be honest with our people.
Yeah.
So I said, well, once she gets a needle, after she gets her needle, then I'll come back inside. So when the dentist assistant came out, she was like, "Oh, you can come in now." So I was like, "Oh, she got her needle." She's like, "Oh, no, she got the needle and the teeth pulled."
Yeah.
Literally in 10, 15 minutes.
I think she was holding it together more until you showed up. I think
by
by
the
the time
she?
you got there, I think she was like,
she poured it on.
Not poured it on.
Yeah.
But it's just like, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
Now
when she saw me.
Now I'm going to experience the.
Yeah.
Let it out, basically.
Yes. Yeah. No, she was incredible because it was her back tooth, and like I said, it wasn't. It actually was planned, but it was for a different tooth. But yeah, so so it was, she was great. So Friday, we weren't sure how Saturday was going to be. So the party was really nice. And yeah, we just had a really good time. We got to chit chat with a lot of the parents there, and the host family was there from out of town, and we got to chat with them. So it was just really, really nice. And the kids had a great time. And so that was Saturday. So that was a nice welcome back into society. And then on Sunday, I don't know how we found this trail. You found the trail. Taruko.
I forgot what the name of it was. I didn't know it was so close to that before.
See.
Yeah.
So Rich found the trail, and we're driving, and I'm like, well, this is on the way to Four Ways. And literally.
Same parking lot.
Same parking lot. It's attached.
Same little lake. You just walk around.
Yeah. Had no idea. So there's definitely pluses and minuses to doing no research. We just get up and say, oh, let's go here. And that essentially is what we did. No deep dive, no nothing. It's like, oh, it's 30 minutes away. We could do that.
Yeah.
So when we got there, I was like, oh, well, this is fantastic. Depending on how long this hike is. We could get some lunch at the Four Ways Market, which is what we did. So that ended up being really nice.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise that we did not anticipate. And and the weather was great. It wasn't sunny, but it was still really, really, it was just such a nice day. So that was on Sunday. And what else happened here in good old South Africa? Was it an election?
Yep. They had one, what was it, Wednesday?
Yeah,
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I think they did get done counting Sunday. I don't remember the official day they got done, but that was the estimate from when they were going to be done counting all the votes. And I've been, still trying to figure out, I'm not going to get into it too deeply because we don't know that much, but, this is the first time it's going to have to be a collation sort of government here.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and it's just there's various folks pontificating on the possible matchups and the pros and cons of different groups getting together. But one thing people did bring up, and I didn't think much of it at the time, was that from the election, 2 weeks are allowed for the parliament to decide, who they're going to nominate.
Oh, really?
From
the election day?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
from election day. It could be
Or
from Sunday,
they
from
count,
when they
right.
when they're okay. Yeah.
Official count, yeah.
But like a lot of people were saying even before the election, like, look, if it goes down where no one gets a majority, like 2 weeks is not a lot of time.
Right.
And I didn't really give it much thought then, but now they're still trying to figure out who might get with who and all this kind of
Right.
stuff. So then within that 2 weeks, you have to figure out who's coming together and who's not, and then find someone out of that. You know, that 2 weeks is going to
You
be.
think it'll be well?
pretty
Can they
quick.
go longer than 2 weeks?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just the time frame that my understanding is that they have to work with to get someone named to be like, okay, is this person going to be the one that's ultimately approved by the parliament for president?
Yeah. Yeah, I think what I am really fascinated by is how this is going to, how these four groups, main groups, are going to, coalesce around, working together and trying to figure stuff out. Yeah, like it is just for me, just as an outsider, it's like, wow, like I'm hoping and praying that, they'll come to some sort of understanding that will work for every person, even including the people that didn't vote for that party, but, they govern in a way that everyone is going to be represented. So it is really going to be interesting to see how this works in real time. So I'm actually looking forward to it. And then what happened in America, Rich?
What happened to America? Oh, yeah,
In America.
the former president, or old 45, got convicted in one of his trials. I think this was the hush money laundering deal with old Stormy Daniels there.
That's right.
Inappropriate use of funds.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, no, he got found guilty. He'll be sentenced, I think, in July.
Right.
He's probably just going to get probation and a
Yeah,
slap on the wrist. It's nothing material is going to happen.
Nothing. People were very excited about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, this is a big fat nothing burger because he's not, like, if he gets probation, that'll be something. It does not prevent him from running for office because he can appeal until the cows come home, well past the election. Yeah. So it was, I honestly didn't have any reaction. Honestly, like people, were very happy about it, but I personally didn't have any reaction.
Yeah, like some people I think are putting more like water in that bucket. Like that's not going to carry much, weight. If anything, I think it's further solidifying folks. They're already, preconceived views. For his supporters, this is just a political stunt. You're persecuting him.
Yeah.
And then for everyone else, it's like, great, he's finally being held accountable for the litany of things that he's doing, or did.
Right.
But the ones that actually counted got pushed and delayed and haven't started yet. Like the material, ones that would actually make a difference to him running. And that's part and parcel of the games they play over there too. Like the stuff that he's being accused of, all happened years ago.
I was just going to say,
if you wanted to get this, if you wanted to get a trial done, without an election looming, not 8, but I'm saying,
no, this happened before he became president. They were using this as
that was
a way.
16 one.
Yeah,
I was thinking about the interference in Georgia.
No,
but point is,
8 years later,
after the 2020 election, you could have started the process on all of these things because trials take forever.
Yeah,
but they didn't.
2016.
But I think no one really wants to be that first. Like, we're prosecuting a former president. No, seriously. Why did they wait to start them all?
No, please. I mean, all of it's a farce, you guys. Like, it really, really, really is. If this was 8 years ago when I thought that this man was going to be just the second coming, and terrified, I would have been, doing the little dance. But after what I've witnessed over the last 8 years, it's just like, okay, all right, nothing's going to happen here. Kudos to, justice being, the justice system, I guess, has an impact on everybody, not just the people that have the luxury of having access to money and power. So, but yeah, it literally is just symbolism at this point. So that happened. So that was, nothing. I mean, that was kind of not a big deal for me personally. And then, yes, Rich and I wanted well, a couple comments that we have gotten in one or two of our videos. So we went to the garden estate. What was a garden on this beautiful estate?
Please don't look to me for the name of the place that I don't remember.
Neither do I. It's terrible. But we went to this estate that had a beautiful garden. And in one of the comments or the video, one of the persons had inquired, like, how did it feel to be there? And it's so funny because when I we didn't know what to expect. It's like, again, for me, it's like, oh, it's new, it's close, it's a new experience, it's close to us, like, why not? And that's kind of how we go into all our, whatever we get into on the weekends. And I think there's freedom in that. Like, there are things in America, trust and believe, I would not participate in. And I think the most of it is because I feel like in America, people make it very clear and obvious that if you're in a space that they don't want you to be in, you know it. Whether it's the tension that you could cut with a knife, or they will tell you, or they will treat you in a way that's so appalling that you would eventually just leave. So I think, so here, there isn't, or at least for me as an American and, my American experience, I'm used to being in, a minority in, in white spaces. Like, that's just what my existence has been, the entire time. So it's not an unfamiliar situation, but there is a difference in that. I feel like, one, I'm in South Africa. I am on the continent. I am in a Black country. So I think with that in mind, I always feel like, well, of course I deserve to be here. Of course I have a right to be here. Whether or not people may think I may not deserve and belong there, but I feel that way. And I feel like when you are in a group that, if we're being honest, is the majority, there is comfort in that and knowing that it's like, some people may not believe that I should be there, but I believe it. And I feel like when you have the support of the rest of the country, that when you have, I don't know if support is the word, but when you just know that you can be there, I feel like there's freedom in that. So when we went, it definitely was beautiful and nice, and I felt so welcome, and it was just a really, really nice experience. I think Nina enjoyed it, but I think that kind of lent itself to another comment that someone had mentioned, and I think the question was, is it different talking about race here in South Africa than it is in America? So I'll let Rich take it from there. I don't even know if you want to comment to the garden thing. Like, did you think anything about it?
No, I didn't think anything about it. I mean, when we got there, it's kind of looking at it. It's like, oh, okay, my expectation was like, this is going to be some sort of crusty,
What's crusty, Rich?
Oh, upper, people with a little bit of coin in their pocket, like, you're going to go, all that kind of nonsense. Like, I thought there was going to be that, it's high tea time, all that kind of force. Right. Like, that sort of, like, stuffy, atmosphere because of the economics of folks, what I mean? Like, so
this isn't something we would
and then sometimes even if you look like them, a lot of those people will look at you funny coming in. They have a real good way of, like, looking at everyone funny depending on who's there, what I mean? Like, you're not automatically off the hook because someone else comes in. It's like, okay, we know you're not us too, but it's different levels of treatment. But I didn't think, like, oh, we can't go in there or anything like that. Like, that wasn't going to stop us from going in there. Like, it's...
no, it definitely wasn't going to stop us. But it didn't feel that way. Like, it didn't feel stuffy. You thought it felt a little stuffy?
A couple of people in there.
Oh, sure. Of course.
We're doing a little,
Yeah. No, I'm sure that was there, but it's just the overall sentiment was like, okay, this is nice, and that's really just what it was. It's like, I'm just enjoying this beautiful environment. And like, we weren't treated any kind of way.
No, it was completely fine. Like,
right. And I think that also speaks to, and this is, I think, because, and speaking from a minority, being a minority in a country we just left where I was, like, you have to engage and interact with people that don't look like you. Like that's just what your existence is. So I feel like here in South Africa, or just the time that I've been here, like white people here are used to seeing black people, and they're used to being in spaces with them, whether they want to or not. Whereas though in America, you could go your entire life. You live in a town,
in some
a state.
parts of them, yeah, you
Yes.
definitely can.
Well, you don't even interact with black people. So, and I feel like a lot of times when black people do show up in these spaces where they're not used to seeing black people, they don't know what to do. But I think, but here in South Africa, because this is a black country, they know, like they see black people all the time. So it's not like this, I'm afraid or clutching my pearls. Like I said, there could be definitely some, well, why are you here? But it's definitely not like, oh, I'm scared of you because you're black. It's like, well, I see black people all the time, and it's just, this is what it is. So I think that also is why I think, white South Africans, South Africans, don't, they interact with black people. Whereas though in America, you really, really don't have to see them other than on the TV. And I feel like, because of that, a lot of it lends itself to, prejudgment and racism and, because the only thing you see on TV about black people in America is crime and, just all the terrible things that, that either black people, they think are committing, or terrible things that are being done to black people. And so people are desensitized and our humanity is stripped away. And I can go on and on and on. So I think, and also when you're a minority in a country, you are able to talk about, you are aware of race, and you can, and I feel like you have to talk about this thing because it affects you. And I feel like that's maybe why people talk about race more openly here than they do in the States.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the reason. There is definitely more of an openness or a frankness to have that as a topic of conversation. So, like, the only thing I can compare it to is, like, we've only been here a limited amount of time. So, like, we only know folks for a limited amount of time.
Right.
And I've never, in the States, had an experience where you're talking about this topic with that in depth.
Right.
With people that you've only known for a little bit of time. Like, we've obviously had these discussions with, family, friends, like with folks that we know.
No, not really.
No, okay.
We don't have conversations with our friends about race. 2020 was probably the only time that we actually talked about race I'll speak for myself. 2020 was the only time that I had any sort of real conversation with my white friends. That is the truth. They reached out. They wanted to know. Like, that was the only time. So, yeah. And family, obviously talk about race with family. Yeah. But as far as, like, talking about race amongst our friends, not until 2020. Well, and these are friends that I've had for 20 years.
Yeah. That was your experience.
That's sorry. sorry.
No, but the point is, I think part of it is, like, for here, like, that conversation was had nationally at the end of the part. I mentioned the Constitution here before, how they bake, the discussion. The conversation was had.
Ongoing,
but it was acknowledged. Like,
right.
Germany, hey, after World War II, they acknowledged the elephant in the room, and like, how do we not have this happen again?
Right.
In the States, that conversation has never happened. Society-wide, open with everybody, like, hey, here's what happened, here's how it informs everything that's going on today.
Yes.
Like, nobody has had that conversation, and nobody wants to have that conversation.
Right.
And I think that, as much as the big things inform the little things, but I think that's a huge thing to be where people are comfortable even bringing up or talking about it. Another factor might be, again, I don't know the answers, but like another factor can be, if you're in spaces as a white person in the States where there's no one else around that doesn't look like you, like, well, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be talking about the plight and the shit that happens to, pardon me for cursing, to other groups, because it doesn't impact you. Everyone cares about what's going on in their own backyard, so they're going to be, griping about work or whatever it is. And,
that's also very American, but
yes. Oh, totally. Yeah. If everyone there's like a vortex around. Everyone's concerned about them and how
Right.
it affects them. Like,
Right.
oh, like would it be great if there was a mental health services for folks, or for people on drugs? Like,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Not on my street,
Right.
but it could be somewhere. Like that sort of mentality.
Right.
But
no,
yeah,
that's
no,
true. Right. That is so true. Because we had, when we were in the neighborhood we lived in, they tried to open, or they wanted to open up. It was just
halfway house or something.
Wasn't it half? No, I think it was it was a pot dispensary. It was like they wanted on Stanton Avenue. Yeah, they wanted, and it's just a little dispensary. Like they have them all. I've seen quite a few.
Well,
So, but it's just like, and this, so they was like, sure, it's great to have access to, this dispensary, but we don't want it in our neighborhood.
I hear it.
And that's all of, like, that's the overarching kind of thing with America, is kind of just like, in theory, these ideas sound great, but if they impact me and my life and the things that I care about, I'm gonna have to pass probably.
Yeah, because everything is framed that if someone gets something, equal rights or whatever the case may be, it's like it's being
Something
taken
taken away
from
from
someone
you.
else. And that's just part and parcel of how they play the game of getting everyone worked up, run on emotion,
Right.
Vote against your own interests because you think you're saving something of yours because it's someone else. So I don't know the answer, but whatever the answer is, I think maybe after 2020, folk might have been getting closer to it because of the intense effort to erase anything that's happened structurally. Like, oh, history, you don't need history. Oh, books, we'll ban everything. There's an intentional.
Oh, you're talking about right now
in the States. Yeah, there's intentional reframing of the history of the country. So it's like the powers that be kind of maybe sniffed you were getting close to maybe having that conversation.
Yes.
Like, nope. You don't need to learn about what actually happened. We're gonna
like what's happening
spin
in America.
This narrative, this propaganda.
Right. What's happened currently in America is a direct response to 2020. Because they saw that once the wool was pulled out, once the wool was pulled off of people's eyes, as far as the disparities and there were just so many things that came out of 2020, and how people reacted to it. They, from that summer on, they have been working overtime to, have people have less access to information and facts and history. Right.
Folks that were running for office can't even answer like what was the Civil War over. Like they're very tiptoeing around. And it's just like you can't even have an honest conversation about facts that happened hundreds of years ago, which is ridiculous.
Documented facts. Yeah, so it's just, so instead of, having honest conversations post, the apartheid, which people are still doing in real time, by the way, because you're talking to one of Nina's parents' friends about, they're just like it's a conversation and it's not weird. And that's just it. Like when you can talk about, if you talk about a thing, it takes the stigmatism away. Like if you just and that's just with anything. It's just like you talk about it and shine light on it and have honest conversations about it. It just makes continuing that conversation easier, as opposed to trying to hide it, pretend that it doesn't exist. And right now in America, they are, like I said, working overtime to uneducate people. And it's just a very scary time.
Yeah, because part of it is the whole divide and conquer thing as well. Like if you make it seem that things that happen were the choice of the other person, then you can say, oh, okay, well, that's not going to happen to me. I follow the rules, or I do this, what they say to do. Right. Get a college, go to college, get a job. Like if I do that, then I'm fine.
That's right.
This other person's in a bad situation.
Poor life choices.
You didn't do the right thing, quote unquote, the right thing.
And therefore you deserve these terrible things that happen to you.
You should have pulled yourself up by your bootstraps. It's not like the being hamstrung with generational wealth and all this other kind of stuff.
Right.
Or the whole police brutality thing. It's like, well, if they just listened, and they wouldn't be. It's like it's that disconnect and the mental gymnastics folks do. Like, oh, if only this was done, then that wouldn't happen. Like, no, that's not it. And, you don't want to have that larger conversation And they definitely don't want people to think that way either. Like,
no, they don't want them to think that way. But I think in the current climate that we're in now, and watching what these police officers are doing to protesters and college kids, like it's full. It is on full display, which of course lends itself to the conversation about 2020 and how Black people are treated in America. Like these college kids and just protesters are getting the full brunt of that. And again, from afar, it is very, very scary to witness, what's happening, and just to see the direction that, things are heading. So, yeah, sorry guys, that was definitely a tangent, but I just wanted to speak to our experience at the Garden. It was lovely. It was beautiful. It was just really nice. And then,
no, I was just gonna say, like, the question of like race, it's difficult here because we're outsiders.
Oh,
like, we just got here. Our perspectives are different. As soon as they hear us, there's probably going to be a change in the way,
right?
So
people interact and engage.
Yeah, so it's not to minimize like everything that happened before and way folks grew up and like the challenges or opportunities that are here now. It's just like some of that stuff we just don't understand. And if there was something that would have prevented someone else from entering that space because of
the history,
stuff, like we weren't aware of that, or that wasn't something that resonated with us going in there.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So we you can only take into spaces your own personal experience. Yeah. And like I said, for me, it was what it was. Like 90% of our interactions was me being one of few Black people. So to me, it was kind of like, oh well, this is just kind of what it is, and I didn't think too much more than that, other than like it just feels a little safer. Well, it feels a lot safer being able to do it here than it did in America. But I definitely know my perspective being here where I came from, and kind of like the racism in America, is definitely different, even though it was imported from America to South Africa. It was a different experience. Yeah. So Garden was beautiful. People talk about race here, which is, refreshing. And it's not like for us, it hasn't been like a contentious conversation or just like, it's like, oh, this is kind of like what it was, and this is kind of what we want. And so that, and again, as long as people are talking about it, I think that can only just, help the situation, or, help people's evolution, as opposed to not talking about it.
Yeah, like denying things is not really the way to move forward. And,
Yes. So, yep. So sorry about the tangent. It's been a week or almost 2 weeks. So we had a little, had some stuff pent up. But of course, thank you guys for watching. Feel free to comment, which we always, I definitely love comments and engaging people in the comments. Like and subscribe. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.